everybody who will at one point receive this vlog. No, it's not the Queen speaking. She hasn't got a German accent like me. She couldn't imitate me for toffee. I can't imitate her for toffee either. But I have the plan, the idea to do 12 little vlogs over the 12 days of Christmas. And if my chronological orientation is just right, this is Christmas Day. So Merry Christmas to you all. And I thought why I wanted to do that was a bit like the idea of an emotional, spiritual Advent calendar, just not for Advent, but for the 12 nights, which have a special meaning in Christianity as well as in folklore. For instance, they are referred to in the country I come from as the raw nights, and there's all sort of magic associated with them, including the wonderful ones that you should take a piece of stale bread to bed, and then when you dream of a man, this is only applying, to people who want to be married to men, you would actually see in a dream your future husband. Don't ask me where it comes from, and don't ask me what it does for anybody who believes in that, but I think sometimes it is just quite nice on a whimsical time like the 12 nights to remember something which does not need to make too much sense. Christmas should make sense, and Christmas, funnily enough, does. And as we progress, we become more and more aware that it is not the magical land of childhood we can return to during Christmas, that it is a deeper, darker Christmas, but the darkness enables the light to shine just even brighter. So I would like actually look at my first point for today. It's Christmas after all. I have been going on about this magical Christmas of 1914. I saw bits of the Christmas carols yesterday, and they even used a letter sent to Sister Janet by somebody from the trenches, and then they had Silent Night as a background music, and then as a hymn, a Christmas carol in its own right. Now, what many people don't know, that Silent Night was also actually written after a war. It was written in the year 1816, and it was written in Austria, and Austria was one of the victorious parties against Napoleon, who got defeated in 1815. But Austria, with the war and the consequences of the war, like the primary victims, the soldiers who got killed, and the secondary victims, the people who got so badly wounded that they couldn't survive, and the people falling victim to malnutrition and disease. Austria had lost in the Napoleonic War roughly a third of its population. So when that song, that carol was written, people knew something about hard time and still managed to believe. Now I make a huge jump and go to two contemporary events. I think nobody could miss the volcanic eruption on La Palma, and it's still erupting. And one of the most touching things I have recently seen in the news was 3 kilometers. Heaven forbid, work it out yourself how many miles that is, because I work in kilometers, but it's not a long distance. 3 kilometers away from the epicenter of the eruption is a church. And funnily enough, the church is still standing there and hasn't been swallowed up by volcanic ash. How long? Only God only knows, and probably some very good physicists might know more than we all do. But this church has a nativity scene. It always had one, but this year's nativity scene, the background to it, and even like the stable, the grotto, is built out of volcanic sand and ash. If that doesn't say something about not giving up hope in the face of adversity, I don't know. And the other one, the other example I would like to mention happened in my own country, where there was bad floods which made pretty little towns and villages looked like a bomb had fallen on them. The devastation was enormous. It cost human lives. And one of those places is Ahrweiler Schuld. And in Ahrweiler Schuld, they have a 12-meter high Christmas tree standing on the little town square. Not that many houses are still standing, but the Christmas tree is there. Some people made it back into their houses. Some people will have their houses to be pulled down and rebuilt, but they still want the symbol of Christmas. And they also organized a nice little present distribution to the people who are still in temporary accommodation. And I know these presents will be kept. Probably some of them will be eaten, but all of them will be treasured. Maybe, just maybe, there is something in Christmas which is almost unkillable. And maybe if we look at that, we can be part of that spirit of hope. Have a good Christmas. Have a peaceful Christmas. And a bit of merrymaking doesn't do anybody any harm. God bless. Amen. This is a short message for Boxing Day, dear friends. And I hope you get it at Boxing Day. I'm by now aware of the technical difficulties which made Christmas Day message arrive a bit late. But then Christmas is for 12 nights. So I try to stick to a slightly more reliable schedule. And the message sent out yesterday wasn't just Christmas Day specific. Today I would like to talk about shepherds and sheep. Tom and me, we like sheep. We are ardent Shaun the Sheep fans, and we watched the Christmas episode with delight. Now, sheep otherwise are classed as not highly intelligent. We speak about having a sheepish mentality and just following the flock. And the shepherds don't fare that much better. And it's always stressed that Christmas is for all people, and that becomes obvious in the Christmas message going out to the lowly shepherds. Now, shepherding is actually a high-skilled job, and any shepherd, we have some in the family in the old country, will tell you that also sheep are much more intelligent. They might not reach Sean's potential, but they are more intelligent than the general public might assume, and they have their own personality. But no nativity scene is normally complete without a few sheep there to take center stage, or at least on the stage, and a shepherd or two. That wasn't any different when I was young. And one of the nearest nativity scenes to the house I lived was in the American quarters, the American Army settlement, Mark Twain Village, and outside the Catholic Church. And they had a beautiful shepherd. But one day the beautiful shepherd got his crook broken. And I was pretty young then, because this is not my own memory. That's more the memory of a story being told back to me. And I was told some bad children had broken that shepherd's crook. And I cried because I felt so sorry. How would the shepherd ever get another crook? And the crook got repaired, but the nativity scene for quite some time was not the same to me. Now, oversensitive child, I probably was one, but it also actually brings me to a much deeper thought. Maybe even in those days, I had an inkling that the protectors, and shepherds are protectors of sheep, also sometimes need protecting. The carers need to be cared for as well. And that is not that easy to achieve a feature. And I think if we have learned something out of this pandemic, it is how much stretched carers often are. The ones who work in the health service and the ones who have to care for the loved ones in their own homes. The ones who care for friends and just any caring person who cares for the carers. And the realization I've come to just recently is that it is both in us, the shepherd, the protector, and the protected, the lamb. So I would like to finish with some poetry. You can be a shepherd too. You can be a shepherd, protective, shielding others from danger, losing or lessening your fears, giving, telling stories, spreading enchantment. You can be a lamb, protected, shielded from danger, having no or less fear, receiving gifts, listening to stories, feeling enchanted. The miracle of Christmas is you can be both, the shepherd and the lamb, the adult who protects the child, also the child within them. There are many ways to achieve this, none of which might be easy, and some will see God having a place in this. Something for you to mull about, not only for Christmas, definitely and hopefully not only for Boxing Day. God bless and Amen. Hello everybody, and welcome to my third message for the days of Christmas. And this time I would like to talk about children. Since Christmas is all about one special child, let us spare a thought for people and I'm in that group, who don't have any children. This is still a stigma in today's society. More so if it's involuntary, the childlessness, than if it's voluntary. But somehow you are made to feel guilty. Probably not deliberately, but if you say on the totally innocent questions, do you have got any kids? And you say no, and you say, but I wanted to, that stops any conversation. Very often. I don't want it to be a stigma. To a lot of people, childlessness is a life choice. It's one which should be accepted, like all sorts of other life choices. To whom it was the life choice, how they arrange themselves around childlessness, it should be accepted too. That is all I'm asking. But children, your own or other people's children, are not always a blessing. Actually, the people which came into my life as children are one, and I'm grateful for that. But I do know that especially at Christmas, old conflicts erupt in families. Conflicts between siblings, conflicts between children, grown up or otherwise, and parents. There's many ways to react on it. If you can make the peace, make the peace. If you can't make a true peace, make a truce. If you can't make a truce, accept it and walk the other way, and hope that your paths at one point in later life will meet again, and you're both wiser and have a wider heart, so that you can live with each other better. This is a genuine wish I have for everybody. And the wish I have also is that we should always, when dealing with people who are younger than us, what is so all-encompassing called the younger generation, how young needs the younger generation to be, we should be open. We should be open for development and led by them and see their choices, follow their way through life with acceptance and support. That is actually a rule which applies to all of us, how we should deal with each other. If there is an age gap, I think older probably could also mean wiser. That's the ideal case scenario. Does it happen all the time? It wouldn't be an ideal case scenario if it did happen all the time. Is it an age-old problem? I would think so too. Now, I am very fond of things which aren't in the Bible, or which I think aren't in the Bible. I like to imagine things. I like imagining a lot of things. I like to imagine a loving Jesus, who just sort of bursts into tears of laughter about a joke. Up to now, I have very little evidence that the man had a sense of humor, and I wish he would have done. But what I also have actually reflected upon was Jesus's parents and the reaction they would have, if it was documented, to their son's not totally usual career path. And I can imagine Joseph saying to Mary or anybody else that, business was just going so well, and now, he isn't taking over the business and he wants to be a wandering preacher. Wandering preacher doesn't pay that well. And Mary being the woman at the foot of the cross, probably said something back, but he's so good at what he's doing. Now, the greatest surprise I had, and it wasn't that long ago, was then when my biblically much more worst husband pointed out there is actually something speaking about the relationship of Jesus to his parents and his family in Mark 3:21. Then he went home, and the crowd came together again, so that he could not even eat. When his family heard it, they went out to restrain him, for people were saying, "He has gone out of his mind." So you see, even the Holy Family had family problems. I wish that you have a wonderful, schmaltzy, cozy, rose-tinted spectacle time with your children, if that is what you desire. If that is what your children desire. If you haven't, you are not in a minority. Find the peace, the truth, or the different paths, and go on with God's blessing, and definitely with mine. Amen for today. Hello, everybody. This is another little message for the time between Christmas, the New Year, and the Epiphany, for the 12 nights, actually the 12 days as well. And it is a time where we normally are a bit more reflective. In Germany, we speak about the time between Christmas and the New Year as the time between the years, which is obviously not particularly accurate, but it describes a bit of a no man's land in which we wander trying to find something. And if we want to tackle something big, we might actually inquire about the meaning of life. Now, one of the really beautiful tattoos I once seen on a student while I was doing exam invigilation was, "The meaning of life is to give life meaning." I couldn't argue with that one. Too glib? I don't know. But I have something I would like to read to you. Many people spend so much time trying to live up to other people's expectations, and the end result is often a lot of unhappy people. But it doesn't have to be that way. As a well-known sportsman once said, "One of the things my parents told me is never to listen to other people's expectations. You should live your own life and live up to your own expectations. In other words, be you, and be the best you can possibly be." I think that is phrased it quite nicely. And here is another quote. "It is not enough to have lived. We should be determined to live for something. May I suggest that it be creating joy for others, sharing what we have for the betterment of personkind, bringing hope to the lost and love to the lonely." And that was from Leo F. Busalgia. Italian is not my forte. So in case somebody knows about him and knows how to pronounce his name properly, let me know. And I think we will be searchers if we are honest people. And I mean especially honest to ourselves all our life. But that doesn't mean that our life hasn't got meaning to us. And having found a meaning in life also fills us with gratitude. So here is a snippy little thing about gratitude. When Rudyard Kipling was touring the United States, a mocking journalist announced that the author and poet must have earned $100 for every word he'd ever written. He waved $100 bill at Kipling and defied him to come up with one word that was worth so much. Kipling took the money and said, thanks. If you don't think thanks is a valuable word, try living without it. Then remember how good a real, heartfelt thank you can make you feel. And I thank you for listening to me today. Tomorrow is another day, actually comes from Gone with the Wind, and hopefully another little message for me. Go in peace, have a good life, be your best self. Amen. Hello, everybody. I'm back again with messages for 12 days and 12 nights. And according to my own calculation, we are on message 5. And today I would just like to speak about simple things, little things, favorite things, something like that. And the first thing I would like to start with is a text about two elderly gentlemen. One is a bit disabled, but he is always very proud when he has his friend staying at his place that he can still serve the tea. And one day he actually calls his friend into the kitchen. And the first reaction obviously is, oh, he must have got worse. But it is because he wants his friend to see something. This time he invited me into the kitchen to see his pot plant. I did not have high expectations as I walked through. The cactus on his kitchen windowsill, between the washing up liquid and the jar he keeps screws in, had turned towards the weak wintry sun. Its yellow petals, which seemed gold in the sunlight, were reaching back, exposing a delicate narrow funnel from which a scarlet stamen protruded. We both looked at them. I saw pretty flowers. He saw golden dragons in flight. I looked again. The back-turned petals did look like wings. The stamen did look like a breath of fire. From then on, I saw nothing but a flight of golden dragons whenever I looked at the flower pot. Unsurprisingly, I did appreciate the cactus more for Warren's notion. We sometimes laugh at those amongst us who are more fantastical in their notions of what the world is like and what it's all about. I prefer to think it really is that wonderful, and people like Warren and our gentle, wonderful remind us. I personally like cacti too. I had many cacti. I'd actually only had cacti on 2 window ledges before I left Germany, and I still got a few. They're doing well. I have one who has grown into an almost grotesque shape, but always flowers around my birthday. It's a mammillaria and it flowers purple, and it's my birthday cactus. And I don't know, because of the shape it has grown into, how long it will last, but it has given me birthday flowers for a long time. So I have a lot of gratitude for it. One other thing I like is words. So the next reading is about words. I do like learning new words. Recently I discovered higgelig. It's a Scandinavian greeting meaning nice to see you, but it also describes the enjoyment of simple, cozy and comfortable things. When better in these bleak winter days than to settle down with a blanket, a book, a nice coffee, or perhaps a chocolate or two. And if you are that inclined, you might double the pleasure by sharing it with someone it would be nice to see. Each version of the words will brighten up a chilly day. The combination of the two would surely be delightful. So this is a favorite indoor, and this is get followed by a favorite outdoor thing. From this point on, that means after the solstice, the days start getting longer. The worst weather of the year still lies ahead, but at least we shall suffer it in more and more sunlight. There will be bleak and miserable days ahead, but there will be crisp and fresh days as well, and we might see them if we don't always hide away. We might play the game of trying to spot the first signs of winter as soon as possible. John Burroughs, who lived around the turn of the 20th century, was a nature essayist. He thought every part of the year was worth paying attention to. And that is a quote by him. He who marvels at the beauty of the world in summer will find equal cause for wonder and admiration in winter. Find some stout shoes, a warm coat, and a walking companion. Then put that extra daylight to good use. I think that rings true with me as well. And especially rings true with me because I'm the one who absolutely does not like short days. So, in the hope of cozy, slightly lengthening days and small pleasures, may you see them surrounding you, because it does not mean they don't exist. Sometimes we just go a bit joy blind. So make the joy blindness be lifted by whatever spiritual sunlight and real sunlight is able to enter your life and your days. Goodbye for today.